Hey, what's up everybody? So today I'm going to be addressing something that I have encountered with my FJ Cruiser. So yesterday I was out driving and put on the seat belts and went out for a drive to the store, and the seat belt chime and the warning light was on, and basically started buckling and unbuckling different seats, and it turns out it was the driver's seat. So I'm going to try to see if I can figure out what's going on today. My first plan of action is to disconnect the battery. Maybe that'll reset the computer or something, and then reconnect it and then try to see if that makes it go away. If that doesn't, then I'm going to take the seat out, and I know there's a connector, there's a sensor connector underneath the seat that may have a loose connection, so I'm going to unplug that, plug that back in, and see if that does the trick as well. So if not, the other thing that I've read is that there is potentially some debris that may have been lodged in there, and that may just need a good cleaning. I don't really think there's anything in there, but hopefully any one of my first two solutions will do the trick, and if not, then we're gonna have to take a further look. So just to kind of give you an idea of what I'm experiencing, I'm gonna put the key in the ignition. So there's your seatbelt chime. That's generally a normal thing when the car is started. I'm gonna go ahead and put my seatbelt on. Here we go. Okay, seatbelt is in, and you can see that the seatbelt light is still blinking. So somehow it's not sensing that my seatbelt is on. Okay, so it just went away. It's pretty intermittent, I've noticed. So if I go out and move the car, I'm pretty sure it'll come back on. So I'm gonna give it a little drive and see what happens. The light's definitely blinking. I'm moving, so something is clearly not right here. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop the hood, and I'm going to disconnect the negative terminal on the battery, and I'm going to let it sit for, I don't know, 10 minutes or so, and see if a restart will do the trick. Alright, so I just disconnected the negative terminal in my battery, and I'm just going to let it sit for about 10 minutes just to see if that's going to do any sort of reset on my factory computer system, and I'll come back and see how that goes. Alright, so I actually waited about 15 minutes and I just reconnected the battery. Now I'm just going to go back into the car and see if that makes any difference with the sensor there. Alright, it gave a little bit of a shudder, and I just clicked my seatbelt in, and the light is still flashing. So definitely did not work. So the next step for me is to disconnect the battery once again. I'm going to remove the driver's seat and see if I can reconnect the sensor connector underneath the seat. Just kind of unplug it and plug it back in to see if that does the trick. What I did first was I disconnected the battery again, so the negative terminal on the battery is disconnected. Always a good idea when you're working with airbags. So once that's disconnected, I'm going to go ahead, take my 14mm, remove these two plastic covers on the back, and start unbolting. Now there's 4 bolts on these seats. There's 1, 2, and then 3 and 4. 2 in the front, 2 in the back. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start removing these. So underneath here I have my yellow, which is the airbag. This black one I think is the sensor for the seat belt. And then the other 2, these are for my heated seats. Alright, so when I installed these heated seats, I cleaned up the wiring by zip tying this up together. So I think there might be a little I don't know, a little tension there. So I'm just gonna cut off this zip tie and see if that helps at all. But I feel like there was a little bit of tension that's been relieved just from cutting that zip tie off. So let's see what happens. There's one. Okay, there goes another. Okay, reconnect that. Let's just connect this guy back. Let's see what happens with that. So I'm going to reconnect the battery terminal and then see how that goes. Alright, seatbelt latch is going in. And that looks to do the trick here. So I got my seatbelt latch in, unbuckled. There's the light. I'm gonna buckle it in again, and the light is out. So that did the trick. So what I think happened was there was a little pinch in the connection there. As you saw before, I had all of these connections zip tied up close here, so I just loosened it a little bit. I think there was a little pinch in one of these connections here. So all right, now that I have the battery reconnected, I'm just going to reassemble the seat and bolt it back on. All right, so now that I have everything nice and buttoned up, I'm just gonna give it a little drive and see if that light stays away. I'm gonna go start up the engine. Here I go with the seat belt. I'm gonna keep the camera on the light here. It's going in. Ah. So that did not do the trick. Now here's something that I'm noticing. I'm noticing that if I pull on the seat belt and I give it tension, then the light disappears. So it's definitely something going on with the sensor down there. And so see, if I pull, give it some tension, the light goes away. And now if I let go, I release the pressure, it's now, the light's back on. So something's going on here. I may have to take the seat out again and fiddle with this seatbelt receptacle. So now that I've moved it, it's gone, and now it's back. If I move the receptacle around, so I give it some tension and it goes away. It's interesting. So here is another go at taking the seat apart. Something is definitely going on with this receptacle and the wiring here. So I don't know what it is, but I traced this wire all the way down, and it does look like, so this cable runs to the black connector here, and then there's actually an additional black connector down here. So I'm just gonna disconnect everything and then reconnect it, and then try to tighten this up a little bit and see if that does the trick. One thing I did notice that is this cable, there's a little hole here for the cable to be fed through. This cable was actually out and underneath here, which I believe led to maybe not enough tension when the seatbelt receptacle was on this rotation. So what I noticed was when I was sitting in the car and I moved the receptacle down here, the light would come on, and when I pulled it this way, you know, causing more tension, it would disappear. So this was probably meant for this cable, and since it was out, I think that caused some of the problem there. So hopefully once I put everything back together, it should be good to go. So I think I did figure out the problem. I mean, I know it's that tension on that cable that's causing the issue here. So you see I've got it buckled in and the light is off, but when I move it, when I swivel it down this way, the light is back on. It wants the cable to be a little more taut in order to make a contact, I believe. So yeah, as I'm moving it back and forth, I can see the light coming on and off. Alright, so in another turn of events, I was able to get the seatbelt receptacle off, and I don't know, I think there's definitely something going on with the wiring in here, so I might just try to pry this open somehow and see if there's anything going on with the wiring. I don't know exactly what I'm gonna do, but maybe there's something in there. I don't know, we'll see. Alright, so my solution to this was I added an additional layer of electrical tape and tightened this connection here. So what ended up happening was as this swiveled forward, some connections here were getting loose, I believe. So I had my wife help me. I pulled this taut as she wrapped around this layer of electrical tape, and we made sure it was on pretty tight, so any movement wouldn't cause the loose connection. So it looks pretty good there. So I went ahead and reattached the bolt, and it's back on. So now I'm gonna put the seat back and do a little wiggle test and see if that helps. Alright, so I have the seat in place. The bolts are not back in yet. This is just a test, just to see if that did anything. So I'm gonna hop in the seat, grab my keys and put it in the ignition, and then get the seat belt. Okay, there's the light. Buckle's going in. All right, so far so good. The light is off. I'm gonna do a little wiggle here. Just kind of move it around, and there is no light. So that's good. Yeah, as I suspected, there was some kind of weird tension issue going on with the cabling down there. And I think just a little tape was able to fix it. I'm glad it was a simple solution. I'm hoping that this does the trick, and I really wasn't looking forward to taking apart the receptacle, mainly because I really wouldn't have known what to do in the first place. There's probably some connections in there that I really, probably could have secured or had to secure in one way or another, but for now, looks like the electrical tape is keeping things in place properly. So a little bit of trial and error on this one, and that seemed to have done the trick. So I'm pretty happy with with the results. I hope that it's still safe to use. I imagine that it still would be, as long as it knows as long as the sensor is still functional. I'm good to go, I believe. So if you guys experience this in your FJ or in your cars in general, let me know in the comments, because I'm curious to see if this happens a lot with Toyotas at all, because really I've had Toyotas all my life, and we've had Toyotas in the family, and I've never encountered this issue until now. That's good. So I'm going to unbuckle. There goes the light, and I'm going to buckle it back. There it goes. Move around a little bit. All good. So now I'm just going to put everything back together. I'm going to bolt the seat back on, and hopefully I'll be good for a while. So in the end, it was a simple fix to an issue that really I was kind of concerned about because of safety issues. Hopefully I won't have to deal with this again in the future. And the FJ adventure continues. So feel free to give me a like and a subscribe. I'm gonna continue to document my experience owning the FJ Cruiser, and I'm happy to share the experience with everybody. So Yeah, catch you guys on the next video.